ourselves, and we're going to go over the history of testing quickly. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the current efforts towards the CTBT, and then the main challenges, and then we're going to propose our solution, and then you guys can ask any questions afterwards.
Okay, so we're going to begin a little bit about where we came from. So we come from Honolulu, Hawaii, and from the island of Oahu, which is the third biggest island in the chain of islands of Hawaii. And our school, Punahou School, is a private school on the island of Oahu, and this is a picture of Cook Hall, one of the buildings at our school.
We're lucky enough to grow up in an environment that's culturally diverse, so we understand the power of different perspective and decision making, such as the CTBT.
So I'll begin with the history of testing. So on July 16th, 1945, America basically had its first atomic bomb testing at the Trinity site at the Jornada del Muerto Desert in New Mexico. And its bomb named Trinity was a plutonium bomb that was similar to the bomb dropped on Nagasaki on August 9, 1945.
The Trinity bomb was part of the Manhattan Project, which cost the United States $2 billion and accumulated in the dropping of bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
And so now we'll talk about the Cold War, which was a tense rivalry between the Soviet Union and the US that lasted from the late 1940s to 1991, the year the Soviet Union disbanded.
The two allies struggled to divide the European countries, and on September of 1949, the Soviet Union conducted a nuclear bomb test which shot the United States.
And so as you have seen this graph before, the tallest one shows about when the PTBT was implemented and nuclear testing has gone down. So since the end of World War II to the beginning of the CTBT, over 2,000 nuclear tests were conducted worldwide. 1,032 in the US, 716 in the Soviet Union, 45 in the UK, 210 in France, and 45 in China.
After the implementation of this PTBT, there have been several tests from 1998 to 2016. There were 2 in India, 2 in Pakistan, and 5 in Korea.
So as you've seen this before too, it shows how atmospheric testing was changed to underground testing as the Soviet Union. Okay, so the Cuban Missile Crisis marks the peak of the Cold War, which was when an American spy plane photographed SS-4 medium-range ballistic missile in Cuba on October 14, 1962. John F. Kennedy said, quote, "An attack by the Soviet Union on the United States requires a full retaliatory response upon the Soviet Union, which would have resulted in a nuclear war destroying both sides."
And on October 26, Khrushchev said this in a speech, and the United States and the Soviet Union reached a compromise so the United States wouldn't invade and then the Soviet Union would dismantle their nuclear weapons.
So on August 30th, 1963, between the Soviet Union and the US, a hotline was implemented in the White House, which created a direct line of communication between the two countries. This was a teletypewriter that had written messages that could be immediately received by the other country. And this is important because, for example, in the Cuban Missile Crisis, it took the US over 12 hours to respond to Khrushchev's initial message, which could have resulted in disaster. And so the Soviet false alarm missile in 1983 marks when Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov, who was 44 years old at the time, received an alarm that 5 intercontinental ballistic missiles were heading for the Soviet Union. Now, he could have chosen, he had a 50-50% chance of either getting it right, whether he would choose that it was a false alarm or he would set off Soviet Union missiles. And luckily, he chose it was a false alarm. However, if there were open lines of communications and basically better communication, it could have been resolved earlier and more effectively.
From 1994 to 1996, international negotiation led to the creation of the CTBT, which opened for signing on September of 1996. To have it ratified, 44 states must sign and ratify it, and right now we need 8 of them to do so.
basically it contains nuclear testing and weapon building, and it monitors testing as well using various methods such as the international monitoring stations. So there are 321 international monitoring stations in total, 16 laboratories, which adds up to a total of 337 facilities.
In 1963, India agreed with ratifying the CTBT. Okay, yeah. And then in 1996, India acknowledged the unequal qualities of the treaty, and they said that they wouldn't ratify, they wouldn't sign the treaty, not now, nor later, as long as it is unequal due to their conflict with Palestine.
And so basically, India is also between China and Pakistan, who are both countries that have yet to ratify the treaty. So there was conflict between them as well, because if India ratifies the treaty and Pakistan and China does not, then that would be unfair.
Right now, the United States isn't signing the CTBT because of general fear of international responses. So the Senate wasn't too comfortable with the idea that they wouldn't be able to amend the CTBT, so that's why they currently aren't signing it.
So in the U.S., in 1999, when they debated it in the Senate, it was only up for debate for 18 hours in the Senate after they put it off for 2 years when it was initially introduced in 1997, and it has not actually been to the Senate since. So one step in ratifying the treaty was actually to bring it up for debate in the Senate.
However, the United States is a democracy, so we as citizens can do something to change that, and we'll address that in our proposal.
Okay, so this is a map of who has weapons and how many, and for example, the yellow marks territories that have been accused of owning nuclear weapons and promised never to do so again, and the red marks who has.
Currently, the strongest challenge in disarmament is the CTBT, which is a major milestone, and the regional rivalries in the Middle East, Northeast Asia, and South Asia act as they cause opposition to the ratification of the CTBT.
Terrorists also have access to 1,800 metric tons of highly enriched plutonium and uranium across 25 countries, which weakens global security.
And also, security technology has developed, so now we also need to worry about cyber vulnerabilities and the evolution of the technology. Right now, there's multiple proposed treaties, such as the proposed missile material cutoff treaty.
And also monitoring from Chinese IMS stations to international data centers in Vienna ensures verifications are met. Right now, basically, the biggest challenge is ratification from the 8 states that we know, especially the 3 states that have not yet signed the treaty, India, North Korea, and Pakistan.
Taiwan is expected to ratify the treaty at the CTBO Science and Technology Conference. So that's good progress. Right now, the NTI Nuclear Security Index has shown a decrease in HEU, which is highly enriched uranium, and Project Sinca has led to a decrease of 100 metric tons of HEF.
So NTI has worked with the government of Kazakhstan to remove over 12 nuclear bombs worth of HEF from a civilian nuclear power reactor slated for shutdown.
One of the here for the existing treaties, there are 25 total. The SALT prohibits ICBMs, which is intercontinental ballistic missiles, SLBMs, which is submarine launched ballistic missiles, nuclear warheads, and nuke launchers. And it's also proof that international negotiation is not only possible, but also successful.
So as you know, CTBT bans all nuclear weapon testing. The Polindava Treaty obligates party not to develop, manufacture, acquire, or possess any nuclear explosive devices. And the Antarctica Treaty obligates parties to not use Antarctica for anything else other than peaceful purposes.
So throughout our country and our world, there's multiple examples of successful international negotiations, such as the hotline. Here is a picture of our graduating class from last year. They're also an example of collaboration. They're wearing Hawaiian haku. Their dresses were, the design was introduced by European missionaries, and in the video, they're singing Roman Catholic songs, which is kind of proof that cultures can not only coexist, but also collaborate and create new things like this. Okay. And then here's our meeting, which is, it's an annual tradition where our school basically puts on like a show, and then this dance represents the unity of our 8 islands.
So basically here, history shows us the success of collaboration through the peaceful cures following the successful culture integration. So we as the next generation have the responsibility to have peaceful culture communication by finding common ground. For example, India and they believe how that CPT is discriminatory and how open-minded communication is how let's discuss it.
So now is the plan to take action since there's momentum towards ratification of the CTBT. So our plan is to encourage the U.S. to ratify because we as citizens, even though we're not a voting age yet, we can influence the voters to put leaders into office that will do so, or at least fight to do so. So we can do so by making a nuclear treaty public awareness club at Punahou to help spread awareness to the voters. We also want to spread an understanding of international motivation, so we can do so by just talking to one another internationally. So we need to take advantages of situations such as this conference where we're talking to people from across the world like regularly.
So as Kristen said earlier, we're talking about creating a club, and we were going to work with the Hiroshima scholars at our school who, basically our school chooses 2 scholars every year to visit Hiroshima and attend the conference there on the anniversary of the dropping of the bomb. And they'll be going again near the end of the year in August. So we hope to communicate with them and create a club. Secondly, we want to connect with schools and countries yet to ratify the CTBT. For example, this conference it's fantastic, and we've been able to communicate, but it would be good to bring in schools from countries who haven't ratified the CTBT, although the U.S. hasn't. We could bring in other schools from countries such as China, etc. Also, we were hoping to work with the Sudaku project, which is a project at our school that goes to Pearl Harbor and spreads the news of peace and teaches about Sudaku's story and how to close Ukraine. And we're hoping to build upon that and teach them about nuclear testing as well and the CTBT.
We also plan to create a petition for the U.S. to ratify the CTBT, so Congress and the people in our government know more about the urgency of the issue.
Thank you for listening.
Before you guys ask the questions, we have like some presents for you. So we have like chocolate from Hawaii, and then on the back there's a note. So you can like tear it off and then like write your name and number and then give it to like the people here, so you guys can stay in touch after the conference. So yeah, just like come to us after at the reception and then we'll give it to you. So yeah, any questions? Yes, will you? Good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. much to all the schools who presented today. Let's give them another round of applause for their hard work. We will have a reception at 5 p.m. at the cafeteria. See you there. Thank you.
Sorry, I just have a quick announcement. So we are a little bit behind the schedule, so we're going to have a reception a little bit later, around closer to 5:30. And I want to use this time to, as I mentioned to some of you, I would like to take this opportunity to talk to tomorrow's panelists and showcase presenter for the public symposium and also MC. So could you come to around here for tomorrow's presenters? So again,